last time I came was last. It's been a few months, yeah.
Okay. Come, let's start. We learn a little bit about the laws of converting people. Everything that consists of converting people. What's considered a good convert, what's not considered a convert, do we want converts, only one convert.
Alex was just reading about Garrett, that's funny.
In that book? It's a good book. He's a very nice person.
Talking about the parsha, a few things about Garrett and everything. And you're saying that now. It's funny.
Yeah. So it says like this. I'm surprised, these shilas, they do come up. I remember one time I was a part of a business to be a guy or somebody. I kind of regret it. I told myself I'm not going to get involved in Garrett anymore, but I have to show me later. It's not such a simple thing.
To do what?
To convert people.
Oh. But you have to have certain, like, you have to know certain laws in order to convert, or anybody could just...
Yeah, you have to know what you're doing, yeah. But even so, not everybody likes to get involved. The Garrett becomes complicated. A lot of people don't convert for the right reasons. Also, so it becomes a little bit more complex when the Garrett is done on the wrong reasons. But in any event that happens, I remember that we went to be a guy or somebody, and he ended up moving to Eretz Yisrael. But what happens is that when we did the Garrett, we did it in Rami Khan's house. This is when he was alive. I don't know if you know who Rami Khan is. Rav Rami Khan, he was like 90 years old. He's a Holocaust survivor. I would really recommend that people should watch his video biography online. You could put his name, Rami Khan. Very touching story, his life, and it just shows you how powerful one person could be. He was unbelievable. He saved so many people's lives during the Holocaust by making fake documents for Jews that they were Christians. He was a young man, right? And he went and he picked up guns and he fought, and after the Holocaust was over, he was looking for his father. It was a very emotional story. And then he moved. Yeah. He moved to Brooklyn, and he was a Moel, and he did thousands of Brit Milot, thousands. You know Rabbi Natan Gadayov? He did his son's Brit Milah also, the last one in the Simcha Palace here. And he was also, he owned like tons of real estate. He lived in Borough Park. He used to learn every single day. I used to see him in Satmar Bet Midrash downstairs. He finished Shas a few times. Very interesting fellow. Right, so remember we did a Brit Milah in his house, we did a conversion in his house. And he did the surgery. He performed the surgery. He has like a whole surgery room. It's unbelievable. Lemai says, no, he passed away during COVID. He was like 90-something years old. Yeah, I think so.
If a person, let's say a rabbi converted someone, right? Yeah. And that person, for some reason, after a certain time, didn't keep the laws or decided not to do it or whatever, Does the problem of whatever the rabbi converted that person, does any of the avirot go on that person or no? On the rabbi?
It really depends on what the rabbi understood when he was first doing the conversion. If the rabbi did everything he was supposed to do, hashkafically and halachically, then he can't take responsibility for what the person decides for the rest of his life. If the rabbi senses that the situation is fake, it's a problem. Right? You shouldn't convert people altogether. Right? But it's a problem. We don't look for people to convert. But I've had questions before where somebody's conversion was very questionable. I don't know if I would say that he was Jewish. And they buried him in a Jewish cemetery anyways.
There's a ger converting people left and right.
What?
There's a ger converting himself in yeshiva, everything.
Yeah.
Became a rabbi.
Yeah.
Now he's converting people left and right. And he's telling people if there's more Jewish people in the world will be a better place. He's going to India, he's converting tens.
We don't promote such behavior.
Yeah.
You're like a witness.
We don't do such things. It's clearly in halacha that we try not to do that. Right? Shulchan Aruch says like this: Ger shenichnas lekal Yisrael. If a ger wants to convert, if somebody came and he wants to convert, say he realized the Torah is true, Hashem, he realized this is the real religion, this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted, he realized the creator of the heaven and the earth, he realized the whole entire world. And he wants to come to Judaism. Chayav milah tchilan, he's obligated to do Brit Milah first. Right? He must do Brit Milah first. Like I know a rabbi in Williamsburg, he goes to Ukraine, all these different places, and he does Brit Milah on all the Jewish boys that never had a Brit Milah. Hamash takes Jewish boys and he does a Brit Milah for them. Unbelievable. You always call him, he's always in Ukraine, he's a Hasidish guy. Right? So it's tough when they're older, but they usually numb it. They numb it when they're older, and they do it anyways. I happened to have been there once. I almost fainted, but that's what it is. But, that's so. חייב מילת אכילה. It's חייב לגרת to do במילה first. ואם מלכה שהיה עובד כוכבים, say if a goy got a brit milah when he's a goy. Say a goy went and he did a brit milah for health reasons or whatever reason he might have done a brit milah, or an Arab they do brit milah, right? צריך להטיף ממנו דם ברית. So here, even though they have a brit milah already, and we said you need to do brit milah, then you need to go to the mikveh. You need these two things. You need brit milah, and then you need to go to the mikveh, right? So if he already has the brit milah, right, properly, it's done properly as a brit milah, right? They don't do the second step. They only do the first step. But in any event, if you see that the brit milah is already done, so what you need to do is just you need to take a little needle and poke it a little bit just to do atafat dam brit l'shem yadut, just to take out a little bit of blood l'shem yadut. It's the machloket haposkim where you have to do it, right? Which area you have to do it. But that's a different discussion, right? But l'maisa you have to do it, right? But you don't say bracha. Generally, you have to say bracha when you do the actual conversion, when you do the brit milah. But here we don't do the brit milah. We don't do it the bracha because there's a machloket in the Rishonim. If a goy did a brit milah when he was a goy, does he need to do hatafat brida? You need to do the hatafat dam. Do you need to take a little bit of blood or not? There are poskim that hold no, completely you don't have to. There are poskim that hold that if you're the born of the brit, you can't do brit l'shem kerut. You can't be megayer him fully. It's like it works, but it doesn't work, sort of. And then the Shulchan Aruch says no, it works, but you don't say bracha because it's safek brachot lahakel. Right? That's the maskana of the Shulchan Aruch. Right? You need to do hatafat dam brit without ואם נחלה תגיד אין מינתו מעכבת מנתגרת רגל בתפילן. Say for whatever reason his private area was cut off, right? However, whatever the situation was, right? He could still become a convert by going to the mikvah because he doesn't have that first option of doing the brit milah. Now, the Rama adds, "Taval kodem shemal mo'il b'dibiyabat avetfilan." What about if he went to the mikvah first and then he did a brit milah? Does that work? Right? Or does he need to do brit milah first? So the Rama says b'diyabat it works. If he went to the mikvah first to become a ger, and then afterwards he went and did a brit milah, it works b'diyabat. Right? Some that say that it does not work b'diavad. Right? Some that say it does not work b'diavad. So the poskim say you should be machmir and go do it again, the mikveh afterwards. Right? So go to the mikveh afterwards again, and in order to remove yourself from this safek. Now. Yeah. טוב, next הלכה. כשבא להתגאם, first הלכה is clear, needs brit milah and needs to do תבילן. בדיעבד, if we went to the mikvah before, even though בעצם בדיעבד it works, but we try to make him go again afterwards. One of the main reasons why we want to do brit milah before the mikvah, even though we can still stay as the convert, even if we went to the mikvah before, is because we first want to do the brit milah, and then we want him to see that it's hard. Painful, and we want to see whether he's going to retract back and say, okay, I'm not converting. But if he's going to go to the mikveh first after the brit milah is automatically a Jew, then it might be a little bit too late, right?
Can it affect the water?
What?
Can it affect the water if you go in before the brit?
No.
Mikvah is higher than brit milah, that's what we get.
What?
Mikvah is higher than brit milah, that's what I get.
Even if a boy goes
He
inside.
could do it like that. The Ramban...
Серьезно, вот это.
No, mikvah says we should brit milah. If you do brit milah, you can say no, but if after mikvah, then say you cannot say no.
You need a combination of both, but yeah, for a ger, it seems like the mikveh is very chashuv. People misunderstand the mikveh. The mikveh is a very holy thing. The Orach Chaim writes there are two things that are not a mitzvah, not a virah. One purifies the person the most, and one contaminates the person the most. It says anger is not an avirah in the Torah. You don't find lo tichas, but it's one of the worst avirot that contaminate a person more than anything. Right? It says mikvah is not a mitzvah. You don't find a mitzvah in the Torah for him to go to mikvah, but it says there's nothing that purifies the person more than going to the mikvah. It purifies the person fully from head to toe. The Reishat Chochmah writes every time a person goes to the mikvah, it returns one piece of that holy spark that he lost while doing an avirah. Not only that,
So you should be
like
in the mikveh
one nitzot every time that a person goes, right? It's very chashuv to go. It purifies the person fully. It removes judgment from a person. Rav Nachman Breslov says a person goes to the mikveh all the time. It gives the person siyata d'shmaya that the panas will come to him much easier. Right? It removes judgment from a person. It purifies the person. It's very important to go to the mikveh at least once a week erev Shabbat. At least once a week erev Shabbat is very important to go. Rav Ben Zion Abba Shaul, when he used to learn and he used to get stuck, he didn't understand what he was learning so well. He used to go to the mikveh and come back. It purifies the person's mind. It's very important for a person to go to the mikveh at least once a week in erev Shabbat, right? It's working,
Yeah, who's going to
right? So that's in regards to going to the mikveh for a ger. Now, kashabali ger, when a person comes to come to become a ger, right? Omrim lo mar eiti Shabbat li l'geir. The first thing we tell him is, what did you see, right? That you came to convert, right? The Torah Zahav over here mentions right away. That we try to automatically make Geirus sound hard for him, because if he leaves good. Why? Because the Gemara says Geirim, right? Geirim for Klal Yisrael are like thorns, right? Geirim for Klal Yisrael are like thorns. Therefore, we don't really want Geirim. So if he comes, we want to make it hard for him. We want to see that he's really very unique. You don't know that the Jewish people during this time, they're going through very difficult times, they're suffering. They always have Yisurim and Tzarot. We don't have Bet HaMikdash. That every day that there's no Bet HaMikdash, there's no day that doesn't have a greater curse than the day before. Gemara says every day the curse is greater than the day before, as long as we don't have the Bet HaMikdash. Judgment, every single generation that the Bet HaMikdash wasn't built is as if we destroyed it. It's not that we just didn't build it, it's that we destroyed it because we have the obligation to make sure that we're doing everything in our part to rebuild the Bet HaMikdash. Right? So therefore it brings judgment upon the Jewish people all the time, chas v'shalom. And therefore the Jewish people are suffering. It says, why do you want to become Jewish for? Are you going to become Jewish? Right? Then you're going to have tons of mitzvot and tons of averot and much more responsibilities. And if you're not filling your responsibilities, you're going to bring problems for yourself. Right? If he says, I know, right, that the Jewish people are in Galut, they're suffering, they're going through a hard time. Even so, even though I don't feel like I'm worthy to become Jewish, but I want to do it anyways. So we accept him, right? We take him in. First we want to try to scare him off, for him to understand what he's getting himself into. Then Then we go and we start teaching him the fundamentals of Judaism. Yichud Hashem, there's only one God. He created the heavens and the earth, no two gods, no three, no mother, no this one, there's only one God. You're not allowed to serve idols, right? You're not allowed to believe that Hashem has a partner, you're not allowed to believe that Hashem has a body, you're not allowed to believe that any idol, any of these idols are true, any other religion that consists of these idols, it's all fake, it's all Isur Doraita from the Torah. And you explain to him, right? You explain to him all of these things, right? For him to understand, to grasp it, to affirm that he's really gonna understand what he's getting himself into. You teach him a few of the mitzvot which are not so hard, like the more of the lighter mitzvot, right? Maybe like tefillin, tzitzit. You teach him a little bit of the obligations that he's gonna start to have. And you teach him some of the mitzvot which are more chamur, right? He needs to eat Pesach, he needs to eat matzah. If he doesn't eat it, there's karet and so on, right? I'm sorry if that would be the korban Pesach, but if you would eat bread, it would be karet and so on. And then you teach him a little bit of the punishments, right? Before you came to become Jewish, you told him you eat chilev, you take an animal, right? You shecht it, you take the meat. The meat has like a layer of fat on top, it's called chilev. Different parts of the meat have a different places, right? So you tell him right now, you take that piece of meat, you eat it, you enjoy yourself, you're going to become Jewish, it's karet. It's just like breaking Yom Kippur, just like breaking Shabbat, and just like being with a person's wife if she doesn't go to the mikvah. It's all the same punishment, it's all karet, just like eating Yom Kippur and breaking Shabbat. Right, you told me you're going to eat this chilev, this piece of fat on this meat that wasn't clean, it's also it's karet. Spiritual detachment from Hashem. Right? You know that Shabbat, if you don't keep Shabbat, it's skila. Right? Skila, death penalty. Right? If a person breaks Shabbat, it's one of the worst of all. Highest form of death penalty Shabbat, because there you're being kofir, and Hashem created the whole entire world. You're being kofir Maaseh V'Reshit, it's like being kofir and Hashem altogether. Right? Shabbat is very chamur. Right? I told him, now you can eat whatever you want, you can do whatever you want on Saturday. Right? Now suddenly you're going to convert, you know what's going to happen? You're gonna break Shabbat, karet. You're gonna break Shabbat in front of witnesses, tekilan. You're gonna eat chelev, karet. You have to scare him a little bit, right? So he understands what he's getting himself into. This is a responsibility. Not being alav, right? But not too much, right? We don't want to do too much. We don't want to point too much at the punishment name it says. Ben medagdakim alav, ben medagdakim alav, right? And even those little bit of punishments, a little bit of details you give him, you don't have to tell him all the details of every single little thing. You just give him a little bit of a background so he understands what he's getting himself into. And we also have to teach him, right, the scharan shel mitzvot, right, to do kibbur abayim, right, to get a long life, with tefillin, you know, you put on tefillin every day, it saves you from Gehenam, right, to daven, you get kapara, you teach him, you know, schar mitzvot, Shabbat, and so on and so forth, right. You get schar mitzvot for that as well. ומודים אותו שבעשיית מצוות אלו יזכה לחיי עולם הבא. You teach him, you do mitzvot, you get to עולם הבא, after 120, you'll have a place prepared for you. This is only a temporary world. You're here today, you're not here tomorrow. Your neshama is going to go back to where it really belongs to, the eternal world. This is just like a trial world. Everybody lives in an eternal world. You come here for a certain amount of time, and you go back, and whatever you work for, that's what you get, and you stay there forever, right? You tell them you're going to be there, that's the world that we came from, that's the world we're coming back from. You're going to get עולם הבא, right? You're going to live there eternally very well. ושאין שום צדיק גמור אלא בעל חוכמה שעושה מצוות אלו, and there's nobody that's considered a tzaddik, only rather a person that's a בעל חוכמה that fulfills the mitzvot, right? ויודעים ואומרים לו, ויודע שהעולם הבא אינו צפון על הצדיקים, that the world to come is only for tzaddikim, only righteous people. If you're going to convert, you're not going to be righteous, it's going to be worse for you, right? והם ישראל, and these are people that are כלל ישראל, עולם הבא is for כלל ישראל, וזה שתראה ישראל בצער בעולם הזה, and this that you see the Jewish people are suffering in this world, טובה צפונה להם שאין יכולים לקבל רוח טובה בעולם הבא, כעובדי כוכבים, right? It says this is a blessing for the Jewish people, that they're suffering in this world. Why? Because they're not receiving this world like the Goyim are receiving this world. Why? Because if they're going to go ahead and receive too much in this world, they're going to become arrogant, they're going to get too indulgent, they're going to forget about their purpose, and they're going to lose their whole entire, right? And they're going to lose their whole entire Olam Haba, right? And all the tragedies that Hashem brings to the Jewish people in this world, right, is only that they shouldn't be extinguished. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu constantly gives them Yisurim to keep them close, to bring them close to Hashem, always keep them connected so they don't lose their share in Olam Haba. Right? Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu always brings Yisurim upon the Jewish people. Ela kol avdei kochavim kalim. Rather, all the goyim, you have to tell them, all the goyim are Olam Haba, gone. They're here temporarily. They live in this world. They build buildings for you. They build this. They build this. This world they're here for, right? And you show them the beauty of what it is to be a Jew and how it's going to be zochah to Olam Haba and how our purpose is for the next world, not this world. If he accepts it, malin oto miyad. You're allowed to do Brit Milah right away. Right, it doesn't need to take a whole year process. We do that to train them in, to custom them to see if they really want to do it. But otherwise, you could really convert somebody within 3 or 4 days.
3 or 4 days? Really?
You could really convert somebody within 3 or 4 days. But we don't do it. Right? Once he accepts upon himself the Old Torah mitzvot, the way we just explained, and he does Brit Milah, Shulchan Aruch says you wait till he heals, whatever amount that takes, a week to week, whatever it might be, some people quicker, some people less, right? And then afterwards you bring him into the mikveh, right? V'ila hogenet, v'lad ani chatzitza. Right, just like we learned in the Hilchot Chatzitza, right, he has to cut his nails, he has to clean himself very well, and he goes down to the mikveh, he tovos after Brit Milah, he comes out again.
So a person who does it on his own, let's say he goes gets a Brit Milah, and then he goes into the mikveh, and he says, I accept all the Torah. It's considered to be okay?
No.
You still need a rabbinical counsel.
You need witnesses, you need rabbinical counsel, you need certain things. We'll see when sometimes that might be able to help. If he has witnesses that he did everything, then we'll see. The Shulchan Aruch speaks about that. It's not so simple that he could do that. Right?
The hardest part of conversion is consistency.
And the person
Consistency.
Consistency, to be consistent on prayers daily and to really live that lifestyle. That's the whole point of testing him.
Yes, if he wants to convert but he doesn't want to keep anything, his conversion is worthless.
Correct.
A Jewish person means you take upon yourself the yoke of the Torah. You accepted the Torah and you live by the Torah. Otherwise, what's the difference in a Jew and not a Jew?
Rabbi,
The purpose of it is to live like a Jew.
If he had witnesses that did the Brit Milah, and he had witnesses that saw him going to the mikveh,
That's okay. If they have witnesses that he converted, that's fine.
and then after that, only he's going to start learning the Torah and the halachot and everything else. He's considered to be a convert already at that point?
If he has witnesses that he converted, it's fine.
Yeah, but nobody will accept his conversion unless he has a certificate.
Yeah, today they do certificates. Today it's a little bit.
In other words, there's a whole infrastructure, right? Like the rabbi's not going to marry.
That you're a Jew?
I tell you the truth. One time I had a case where I had somebody wanted to marry a ger, And he asked me to
A
look
woman
at,
or a man?
a man wanted to marry Gyrus, I should say. Right? And I asked him to send me the certificate of the Gyrus, of the mother. The daughter didn't convert, the mother converted. And the mother converted while she was, I think, pregnant with the daughter or before she had the daughter. Whatever the case might be. So I asked him to send me the documents of the Beis Din that converted her. Happens to be the Beis Din that converted her was like a questionable Beis Din. Sometimes their conversions were good, sometimes their conversions were not good.
Yeah, but how was the lifestyle of that person at the moment?
So then I looked into, I called the Rav, who was the Rav in this community, I'm not going to say where, for a long time, and he told me that he was only a Rav there for like 20 years, and this conversion took place like 30, 40 years ago, right? Like 30 years ago, something like that. He said that the family, they were off for a while, and now they became from. So I wanted to know, did she started keeping when she first converted? Was the conversion real? Right? If she converted without Mekayim the mitzvot, without accepting anything, right? She never wanted to accept anything, right? And she told the Rav she will, and she was lying. She didn't keep anything. She didn't really want to accept it. And you see that she didn't really mean it. She doesn't keep anything. It's a very big problem.
Yeah, but why aren't you measuring for the last 20 years? Why are you measuring 30 years ago when she started keeping? Now she's keeping it for 20 years.
But the actual conversion process, when she actually converts, she needs to accept upon herself the Torah and mitzvot. If you tell the lady, listen, you have to keep Torah after mitzvot, she says, okay, I'll keep everything but kosher. The conversion is not a conversion. Okay, she could keep kosher 20 years from now.
But there are Jews that are not keeping it either.
That's
and now
irrelevant.
for 20 years she's doing it.
Hey, my friend will pay our dues on the mountain, all right? She did
It's
it.
irrelevant. If you're Jewish, if you're born to a Jewish mother and father, you're Jew automatically. But if you want to convert to Judaism, you have to accept upon yourself all the mitzvot. Right? You could, if she keeps them, if she meant it when she said it, and a week later she goes off the derech, she doesn't keep anything, then she's Jewish.
Okay, so as long as she meant it when she said it,
And she kept it.
and then she went off the derech, and now she's maintaining it, she's still considered Jewish.
Yes.
Okay, you're just saying that in that moment,
She has
did
to
she
be
mean
real.
it?
How did the Rav convert her? Right? If she tells you I want to keep everything except cover my hair.
How can you measure this intention, really? That's
You
hard
can't
to
mention intention. Intention you can't mention, but Moshe Feinstein does have a tshuva, and he speaks about if it was recognizable that it was all a sketch. If the moment after the actual Gerish, you could see that she kept nothing, right? It's noticeable that she didn't need it whatsoever. Then you have a very big problem.
Right, you have to measure in her actions.
Yeah.
She has to be paid yourself.
But when you going back for a moment, you said that obviously, you know, a Jew has to always keep his mindset open to the fact that he's going to Olam Haba, right? So this world is temporary. It makes you question what's the point of Mashiach then, because all souls have to come here and get tested, and then they earn their reward here. Well, the moment Mashiach comes, this world stops to exist that way. So how do you reconcile that? In other words, this is always going to be needed for every soul.
There's going to be a time limit. There's a time frame. It's not going to go on forever. Once he comes, it's over. Whatever you got, that's what you got. But Lamaisa, the Ramchal says that the Jewish people's souls never get lost. Eventually, everyone will end up in Olam Haba. Some as dust, some as people, and some as, you know.
Assumingly, when people, like, you have to go through all of the trillions of souls or billions of souls that we have upstairs.
They're all going through their own tikkunim. There's cleansing processes that happen to souls that don't live the way they're supposed to live, and these cleansing processes are painful. And they go through them sometimes for 1,000 years, depending how many sins that they do.
Through Gilgulim.
Gulim, Gehenna, anything. Right? If you look at Minchat Yehuda, Rav Yehuda Fataya, there's a very big Mekubal. He has a whole section in Parashat Yechezkel, and he speaks about all of this. And he speaks about how there used to be a lot of souls that used to come down to him and speak to him. And he used to tell him everything that he used to do. He was a very big Mekubal. He was close to Rav Ovadia also. Rav Ovadia held very highly of him. He was Talmud of the Ben Ish Chai. Very big Talmud, very holy man. The Baba Sali used to tell his Talmidim to read this book, to open their eyes a little bit of what's happening.
Which book?
Minchat Yehuda, they actually translated it in English now. Parashat Yechezkel. When I read it, I couldn't sleep for a while afterwards.
How big? How much is it? The whole book?
That portion
Or just a
specifically,
portion?
that portion specifically, you could do in one day. Maybe 30 pages.
Center for Shlomo?
Send the book.
What's his name?
Send it. I want to read it.
Tינוק בן לינדה יפה.
I want to read 30 pages. I got nothing to do at night. I'm not
לינדה
sleeping.
יפה.
Haina Rivka?
לינדה יפה בת עינה רבקה.
גם Did you say it, Rabbi John?
He said it. I said, "No, don't say it."
Same thing, I just told you the same thing.
Moshe Bandina.
ושלושה תלמידי חכמים, 3 תלמידי חכמים have to be there, right? And they have to, during the time of the tefillah, they have to go ahead and tell him again a few mitzvot, a few averot before he goes in, and they have to stand there and they have to watch him go into the mikvah.
No, it's really way over.
No,
They
you
have
have to
to-
say Kaddish. Another 9 minutes.
One more, I have to go next. Very important.
You
Please.
can't keep the Shabbos, you can't keep the next one.
I'm coming.
It's always gonna help you, don't worry.
So what happens is you need the Beis Din to be there, a part of the conversion, to watch the actual tefillah. They have to actually watch the tefillah of the individual. What happens if it's a lady going into the mikvah? The men are not going to stand there. It's a lack of modesty. So ladies, if there's a lady that's married, so what happens is if it's a lady that's converting, what happens is they have ladies that are there, and they bring her into the mikvah, and they put her in until her neck, and the actual dayanim stand from the outside where they can't see her, right? And they tell her a little bit of mitzvot chamurot, but they tell her a little bit of the mitzvot again,
The Rabbanim stand there when
a
she
little
goes
bit
in.
out.
Yeah, they
Not
go
that they could
outside.
see her, not that they could see her.
Outside.
וישב במים אחר כך טבל בפניהם, right? She sits in the water, and then afterwards she goes into the mikvah. They just have to see the tefillah, but they can't see her. I think what they do is they think they put something around her, like this area that's like bigger, that covers the bottom part of her body, and when she goes in, right? So the whole everything in her body is actually covered.
No ladies
So
can
A
they
woman can be in
actually
there
see
over
it.
there?
No ladies can be there.
Woman
to see
could
it.
be there, yeah, but the dayanim need to see that you feel it over.
How you gonna see? Well, one time I remember I was in one of
So
the.
I'm telling you, remember
Because-
correctly, I remember there was a dayan once asked me if I want to go and be Megayer. There's a lady needed to go to Geras. If I wanted to go and do the Tvilas Mikvot to be one of the dayanim, he told me that they put something around her that covers like her whole body, but it doesn't have a din of chatzitza and halacha, and they put her in so you can't see her body, but you can see her going in.
Rabbi John,
One
what
time I
if a
saw
person
it,
become a
they
Jew?
didn't go
Rabbis
in.
gotta be there?
What?
One time I saw a couple rabbis from our Bedin do
Yeah.
conversion.
Those are Paverim.
Mikvah by 63rd. It's like 2 doors in there. And I was coming out of there, and then the lady went in, and 2 rabbis were standing outside.
My uncle's shul, or Borcha, the mikvah.
Yes, over there. Exactly.
And
I came out of the mikvah that time, and then the lady walked in, and the rabbi said nobody can come in, and she asked to do the dipping in the conversion. They were standing outside. So I'm like, but how will they ever see her dip?
My wife did the
I don't know.
conversion,
and
and she had to go in front of 3 rabbis, and there was a woman who confirmed when she's in, and then the rabbis look over the whatever machitza, and they see that she's in completely, and then
yeah, so there's something there that's covering.
a woman is holding a
Yeah.
towel, and then the rabbi, when she's completely in, then the rabbis will look, and then the woman will come out. Well, my wife came out and said, "Yo, why are you looking at me?"
But there was no woman there. I'm saying the one.
No.
Rabbi, what if a
So
woman
they
gets
put,
Rabbi
they
will
don't,
give the
she doesn't go in where it's not covered. They cover, they put something there. So even when the rabbis look,
What do
they
you mean,
can't see her
rabbi?
body.
They cover the water. You're saying
They cover
No.
from her body, between her body and her head, so they can only see her head.
a
fully in
woman
the
held
water.
up a towel. That is the
No,
only
while
covering.
she was in the water, I'm saying.
I'm clear. No, there's nothing covered. They see.
so maybe
they
they
look
did it
over the towel, and they see that she's there.
Okay, so that might be a little different. I remember when I was asked to go, he explained to me that this is how they do it, so you can never see her body. It could be that people have a different way of doing it.
Rabbi John, if a woman converted to Judaism, right?
Yeah,
She had babies, whatever. Afterwards, she doesn't want to keep anything.
she's
She doesn't want to
Jewish.
do anything.
She's Jewish. They're all Jewish.
The kids don't keep anything, nothing.
They're all Jewish.
That's even worse. In other words, you're Jewish and you're sinning. That's the answer.
Once she converts and the conversion was a good conversion, even if
She converted because of a marriage. That's what she did. That's what she's saying. She converted because of a
But
marriage.
Yavad, even if you
In
convert,
her heart, she didn't want to convert. She did it because of marriage, because that's her husband is going to be
if
happy.
if a kosher Beis Din converted you, even if you did it for the wrong reasons, if you were converted by a kosher Beis Din,
She's all tatted up and everything. She doesn't
most likely you already are converted. Most likely you are converted.
Really?
Yes.
What's the surprise?
Well,
Why are you surprised?
What's the question?
because when she married my friend, you know, she said, you gotta go to conversion or whatever, this and that. I don't know how the conversion works or whatever.
Okay, but what's the question?
Now they divorced. She doesn't want the kids to do nothing. No yeshiva, nothing. She says, we're not Jewish. Christian.
Can you renounce your
Jesus.
Judaism?
No.
You cannot renounce it.
They
at any
go to
point in your
church,
life.
everything now.
The only time
Can't she go and get the whatever they do?
the only time a person
Yoga.
can, the only time a person can renounce his Judaism if he was converted as a child, right?
Without proper knowledge, basically.
So he was converted as a child with a father or mother or based on whatever it might be. Look, if the father converted him, if he could go back and not he could. And then once he becomes like 13 and 1 day or 2 days, whatever, once he becomes an adult, there you let him know that they converted him. He has an option of staying Jewish or not. If he,
But as an adult, you have no, and you consented as an adult, but as an adult, you cannot renounce your Judaism.
that's it, no, none.
Okay,
Once
so
he's
she's
born
Jewish
as a
and she's
Jew,
sinning.
that's your. I mean, once he's born, he has no choice. But if he was born already when they were converting, he has a choice.
If they converted him when he was a child, yeah.
If they converted you before bar mitzvah, bar mitzvah.
No, the girl was born. So they get the averot as a Jew,
Of course.
going idol worshiping.
But a child probably cannot be held accountable. In other words, if the child is born Jewish but her mother raises her Christian and the father is divorced, she probably is not held accountable for her sins.
No change.
It really depends. She's a tinok shenishma.
Ой, вовой, там серьезно аверот пошли.
It's
Yeah.
unfortunate, you know what? We all
What do you
have
mean?
it.
Because she goes to church,
Yeah,
idol
but-
worshiping.
But
The
Mike,
Gemara
they
says that
were,
we all have an obligation.
my wife's family,
We all have an
third
obligation
generation
to help them as much
Sephardi.
as we can.
they came from Spain, and when I traced them back, they had a forced conversion to Christianity in the Pilgrims. Right? How
Where's
can
your
you
wife from?
account Spain? How can you account for those sins? They had a forced conversion, generation after generation lost it.
Yeah, but if she they were converted- Jews?
So they- so
Ariza
they-
was Jews?
I met her as a Christian, and then when we were at the Pesach table, and I asked her grandmother, mother's mother, I know that you're Jewish, and she said, yes, my mother was Jewish.
Значит, your wife also Jewish.
Okay, I understand that, but they didn't know that for 3 generations. They came here and
But if they were
raised Christians.
forced to be converted to
So the halacha is that if somebody is forced
she
to be
doesn't know the
converted, there's two different things here. One,
converted to
Christianity.
No, because you get
They used to
lost
do it all
from
the time.
generation to
They're
generation.
They are Jewish, but the
Right, so
question
they're
is,
all doing
are
averot
they
and they have no
liable for
idea.
their sins? So if there is a threat to kill them, it really depends. It's not so simple. If you could get away and you choose not to, also it depends on whether or not you're just doing something on the outside but you don't really mean it. But inside your house you keep everything privately, that also makes a difference. But if you have the ability to leave or you have the ability to keep everything privately at home and you choose not to and you completely go the opposite end, then you're liable for everything you do.
Correct, that generation is, but the next generation who grows up in an innocent manner, really believing that they're no affiliation, they're still technically Jewish, they have no idea completely.
So, one second, if she's
problem.
Jewish and she did a conversion,
conversion.
doesn't matter if she did a conversion or not, no?
I did the conversion to ensure that she's Jewish.
I would tell you to do the conversion
Because
anyways.
I needed an insurance policy.
I'll tell you to do the conversion anyways because
Correct.
when people don't keep anything and they don't know anything, it's very easy for them to make a mistake about where they're.
But what, she became religious?
I had one time somebody called me.
Cover hair, everything?
Over there is different.
I had somebody call me.
That's it, bro.
I had somebody call me. Mike, listen to this. I had somebody call me one
I'm
time.
offended.
Nobody asked me, I want to tell you. Somebody called me and asked me an interesting question one time in Nigeria. Right? Whatever it might be. Whatever the case scenario might be. So, I forgot what I wanted to tell you. So it says like this. So, then they go into the water and then they come out. Right? So, before the lady comes out, the rabbis have to leave so they don't see her coming out of the water. Right? She comes out and she's Jewish. Once she comes out, even if she goes off the derech after that, she's fully Jewish in anything. Right? We'll do one more halakha and we'll stop. The whole gerus process needs to be done in front of 3 people that are kosher to be dayanim. And they don't all need to be dayanim. You can even have one person that's a dayan and 2 people that are ordinary people that understand the situation. Right? This is all a chatchil. It needs to be done during the day as well. But b'diavad, if you did not do the mit milah or the tefillah, read only in front of 2 people, and at night b'diavad, it also does work as well. So okay, this gets a little bit more complex. The next part of the Shulchan Aruch is if she went to the mikveh for a different reason, or you went to the mikveh for a different reason, does it still work or not? But does it work to do it at night and so on? These are different situations. But at the end of the day, this is what I wanted to tell you. Somebody once called me. He was getting married to somebody. She's not religious, but she's willing to become religious, right? Because he
Jewish
keeps
or not Jewish?
Jewish, but he keeps basics, and he wanted to keep basics, so she's willing to keep the basics also. She claims that she's Jewish, but she's not religious. Her mom's not religious. Her grandma, nobody in the family is religious, right? So the question is, how do you know that she's really Jewish? How do you? Her mom could say, yeah, we're Jewish. Maybe her mother's mother's father was Jewish. So don't think they're Jewish because the grandfather was Jewish, but really the mothers wasn't Jewish, so therefore they're not Jewish. They don't know to differentiate. A lot of people think my father's Jewish, I'm Jewish.
That's a good question. That wasn't
Right? So I remember he asked me, what's the halacha? It's actually, he asked a Rav, and the Rav asked me to call Rav Bakshi Doron to try to find out.
Oh, you have to go through a Jewish cemetery.
So
You have to try and
So I
through the family tree.
called Rav Bakshi Doron. I asked him, what's the situation in such a halacha? He told me that if she could verify 3 generations back that they're Jewish, and she keeps, basics, you could believe her. But she has to understand the basics. But here it was a bit more complex because she didn't necessarily keep anything, right? So here you would have to look into it a little bit more to see, like you said, maybe see, but even you have to really see. If you explain to her the halachas and she looks into it and she can see that they really are Jewish and the mother is Jewish, her mother's mother's Jewish, and her mother's mother's Jewish, that's enough just to prove it 3 generations back. Generally, the halacha is that if anybody comes and it says I'm Jewish and there's no reason to suspect otherwise, generally believe him. Because there's no reason why somebody would want to lie. What benefit would he have if such thing as saying he's Jewish? There's nothing really
So
to
in
gain.
this circumstance, as you said, if the grandmother, that's the 3rd generation, the grandmother says, yes, my mother went to mikvah, my mother kept kosher, my mother respected this, and my mother wore a Magen David.
Good.
Then that's sufficient, even though those 3 generations, because that's pretty much
Yes.
what's happening now
Yeah.
after the pilgrims.
Yes, if I could show that 3 generations ago your mother's mother's mother was buried in a Jewish cemetery and she had a Jewish name, she was a Jewish community, she was Jewish, right? Then even though everybody after that, like the mother
And Jewish last name.
yeah, then even if after that they don't keep anything, right? That's already good enough. It's good enough to prove it.
But in Spain, they were buried in a Jewish cemetery or no? Do you know?
Couldn't find them.
But
You have to hire an investigator for $10,000. Maybe he finds, maybe he doesn't find.
Cheaper to convert.
I converted it for $2,400.
Yeah,
I was like, yo.